So, when you think of an industrial robot, what comes to mind? Probably a huge, powerful arm locked away behind a big safety cage, right? And for a long time, he'd be totally right. But it's time to update that picture. A brand new kind of coworker is starting to pop up, well, just about everywhere, from the factory floor to hospitals and even warehouses. For decades, this was the deal. Super powerful robots kept completely separate from people for safety reasons. But that image on the right? That's the future. That's the collaborative robot, or as everyone calls it, the cobot. And you'll notice it's not in a cage. It's not isolated. It's designed from the ground up to be a teammate.
I mean, this is a huge shift in how we think about automation. So what exactly makes this new generation of robots so radically different? Let's break down what really makes them tick. Okay, so in this first part, we're going to get right to it and define what a cobot actually is by looking at the 4 core traits that make them stand out.
So what is a cobot? At its heart, it's a robot that's engineered to work safely right next to a human in the very same workspace. And that right there is the whole game changer. No more cages.
Now, how do they pull that off? Well, it all comes down to some really advanced sensors. Cobots are packed with sophisticated technology for force limiting and collision detection. What that means is, if one accidentally bumps into you, it doesn't just power through. It stops instantly or slows to a crawl. This is the key feature that makes human-robot teamwork even possible.
But beyond just being safe, cobots are also incredibly flexible. Unlike an old-school robot that was built to do one single thing for its entire life, a cobot can be repurposed on the fly. A company could literally use one for assembling parts in the morning and then, that same afternoon, easily reprogram it for quality inspection.
And that flexibility is really only possible because they're so easy to use. You don't need to be a coding genius to program one. A lot of cobots have these really intuitive interfaces. In some cases, you can just grab the robot's arm and physically guide it through a motion to teach it a new task. This just shatters the barrier to entry for smaller businesses wanting to get into automation.
And finally, let's talk about size. Cobots are usually much smaller and lighter. This means you don't have to tear down and rebuild your entire production line just to make room for one. They can be mounted on a bench, a wall, or even a little cart and wheeled around to wherever they're needed most.
Okay, so we've got the theory down. They're safe, flexible, easy to use, and they're compact. But where are they actually out there making a difference? Let's take a look at some real-world applications.
Of course, manufacturing is their natural home. They are fantastic at tasks like precise assembly or those tireless pick-and-place jobs and super detailed inspections. But this doesn't just boost efficiency. It frees up their human coworkers to handle more complex problem-solving and, the big picture stuff.
But they are moving way beyond the factory floor. In healthcare, cobots can provide an extra steady hand during surgery, help patients with repetitive rehab exercises, and even transport materials like lab samples around the hospital. All this lets doctors and nurses spend more of their valuable time focused on their patients.
And in the world of logistics and e-commerce, wow, cobots are a total game changer. They work side by side with people in these huge warehouses, helping to pack orders, stack pallets, and sort items, which speeds up the whole process and seriously cuts down on errors.
The potential here is obviously huge, but like with any big new technology, there's a difference between the promise and the day-to-day practice. So let's get real and take a balanced look at the cobot calculation. On one hand, the benefits are really compelling. You get higher productivity, better quality, and a safer place to work, which often leads to lower costs in the long run. But it's not a simple plug-and-play fix. That initial investment can be pretty high, and actually integrating a cobot into how you already do things takes careful planning. On top of that, your team needs to learn new skills to work with them, and companies have to figure out a whole new set of workplace regulations.
So, with those pros and cons in mind, where is all this headed? Let's wrap things up by looking at the future of this new collaborative workplace.
The data is crystal clear. The market for collaborative robots is projected to grow a lot. This isn't just some niche trend. We should fully expect to see them become more and more common across a huge range of industries.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. The ultimate goal isn't about replacing human workers. It's about augmenting our abilities. Cobots are designed to take on the repetitive, the strenuous, and the super precise parts of a job, which frees people up to focus on creativity, problem solving, and all the complex things that humans just do best.
And that leaves us with one last big question to think about. We're really past the point of asking if we'll work alongside robots. The real question now is how we're going to do it, both effectively and ethically. So, are we ready to meet our new coworkers?